It's just been a, a week of memories, and um, so so I was on a med cruise when I got the news about Kurt Cobain, and and I had to see it on the cover of a Rolling Stones, um, and I just oh. During the last years of his life, Cobain struggled with heroin addiction, illness, and depression. He also had difficulty coping with his fame and public image and the professional and lifelong personal pressures surrounding himself and his wife, musician Courtney Love. On April 8, 1994, Cobain was found dead at his home in Seattle, the victim of what was officially ruled a suicide by a self-inflicted shotgun wound to the head. The circumstances of his death at age 27 have become a topic of public fascination and debate since their debut, Nirvana, with Cobain as songwriter, has sold over 25 million albums in the U.S. and over 50 million worldwide. And yeah, I always go back to this. And yeah, I know several years back, I always, it's hard for me to accept Foo Fighters because, it took me a long time to trust David Grohl, Dave Grohl. Um, like, what was his part in all of this? Um, but the Foo Fighters music kind of, if you really listen to it, yeah, yeah. What do you do? What do you do when a good friend of yours that you spend a lot of time with commits suicide, right? Um, you know, we're powerless, you know. And I know um over my lifetime, I have been, so protective about being that close to somebody because I always had that fear. I know, you know, when Chris Cornell, when Robin Williams, um, yeah, depression is a real thing, and I know for me, you know, uh, yeah, normally the butt of many people's jokes, but I'm a clown anyway. Um, you know, I always have to be responsible uh, of what depression looks like to me, and I took that responsibility, because a lot of things can pile up, a lot of pressure, and everything to succeed. Just um, y- you know, people not realizing, um, what you think I should be doing might not jive with who I am as a person. So, um, for me, having a voice and all of that, uh, I just know, um, back in October, I reached out for help, and I followed the guidance of many people in my life. And the reality is, I'm the one who chooses out of all the suggestions. And sometimes, I might have to go a certain way, um, you know, to receive funding. But I pretty much know when people are going to bail, right? And so I know that feeling, like, you want me to do all these things, but you're going to bail, right? So I'm always really suspect on that. Like, what is your part in all of this, right? You're making suggestions, but what is your part? So, so this is just my part, to talk about it. I put it on record. If you ever feel that way, that, people's expectations of you are too much, just say it, you know, just be upfront about it and establish that boundary, because if you're someone like me, you know, um, an ex people pleaser, right? I don't do that anymore. I say what I can do, and then I want to see what you can do, right? And I cut the cord real quick after I see what you can do. That's it. Peace out.